Calaroga Shark Media.
From Washington, D.C., where RFK isn't just a stadium to be torn down, this is Ballot.
Today, a look at what happens if you combine a Kennedy with Ross Perot and brainworms. Let's hit this. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the independent presidential candidate who is getting way more attention than anyone expected since Ross Perot, might not poll high enough to make it onto the debate stage next month. But hey, at least he's got that sweet X factor going for him, which I guess also makes him the P factor and the K factor. P for prep and K for, well, Kennedy. In this election fought through meme-worthy images on social media, like Donald Trump as the 1980s businessman king of reality TV versus Biden as the aviator-wearing DC dealmaker. RFK Jr. is basically a big Rorschach test ink blot, at least fashion-wise. The Washington Post did a deep dive into RFK's look. The skinny ties, button-downs, rumpled suits, wild gray hair, and weathered tan doesn't just set him apart. No, it's a direct line to the early 60s American dream, representing vigor, wit, charisma, change, according to some Princeton historian. It taps into our deep nostalgia for the supposed golden Camelot era, and it all traces back to the style semiology of the OG Kennedy men, as one preppy handbook expert puts it. You know, JFK, RFK's uncle, who he's definitely not milking the association with at all. And of course, his dad, Robert F. Kennedy, the guy he's literally named after. Can't forget the classic New England privileged look they cultivated to blend their Irish Catholic roots just like them. RFK Jr. is basically saying, you already know me and what I stand for, without having to spell it out. Except what he stands for is claiming chemicals turn kids trans and that Wi-Fi causes illness. Oh, and being anti-vax. But the clothes make it seem legit. Even as his own family rejects him to back Biden, RFK's iconic Kennedy cosplay is serving as its own campaign message. As one preppy-style podcast host said, he is cosplaying as a Kennedy, doubling down on those deeply associated looks, even though it's really just WASP cosplay itself. But hey, it's a very powerful tool. RFK's been in on this branding game for a while. Like when he was the face of Gantt's $8.5 million ad campaign in 2006, posing in polos and khaki shorts as a Kennedy summer house catalog model. Dude literally wrote the book on riding that Kennedy wave. These days, he's still working those same sockless loafers and pushed-up shirt sleeves for the campaign trail, mimicking JFK's famous ad, posting shirtless push-up videos to flaunt his vigor. It's all about nostalgia refracted through a funhouse mirror, as the Princeton guy put it. The complicated backstory behind the Kennedys' New England elite style has faded away, leaving just the legend. The young prez, sleeves rolled up on a boat, khakis and unbuttoned collars representing generational change. RFK Jr. is replicating all those symbols that represent something friendly, competent, approachable, and cashing in on preppy style's lingering American cachet with merch like a Resolute collection featuring a sailboat logo, inspired by the presidential desk or just another Hyannisport sailboat photo op, who can say? The conspicuous branding is laying it on thick. Case in point, when declaring his run, RFK Jr. hired an actual costume designer to dress him in that signature thin tie and suit look. Nothing says authentic working-class candidate like working with a stylist from The Golden Bachelor. Though in an embarrassing misstep, the designer tagged the Italian brand Zegna as RFK's suit label. Oops, I guess even WASP royalty has its limits in 2024. But hey, perception is reality for this candidate. Just don't check under the affluenza-afflicted hood. The third-party khaki crusader challenging Biden and Trump in 2024 dropped $24,000 on GameStop stock. Why? To show he's down with the little guys taking on Wall Street, or as he calls them, the ape retail rebellion. Yes, RFK Jr. is embracing the meme stock mania, throwing in with those Reddit traders who call themselves apes as a big middle finger to getting labeled dumb money by hedge fund fat cats. These are the folks who triggered GameStop and AMC's bizarre stock rallies in 2021, sticking it to bearish Wall Street analysts. For a candidate literally capitalizing on Kennedy nostalgia while spouting anti-vax nonsense, publicly aligning with the Apes Rise Up crowd is certainly a choice. But Kennedy says his administration will support the ape retail rebellion and enact aggressive Wall Street reforms. Wow, what a striking visual. President Kennedy flanked by advisors in Harambe masks. Of course, This gambit seems perfectly on brand for a guy actively courting undecided voters with a fringe political brand. You know, the kind of people who maybe think the moon landing was faked but are super jazzed about disrupting financial institutions. It's been over a month since RFK Jr. dramatically unveiled Nicole Shanahan as his running mate in a made-for-TV VP extravaganza. And in a shocking twist, the two still seem about as connected as strangers passing on the street. At recent events, Kennedy has offered a baffling range of insights into what exactly his potential VP has been up to. She spent 3 or 4 days at the border. No, wait, just 1 day, according to staffers. She's been talking a lot to the press, except she literally hasn't given any mainstream interviews. Kennedy's perplexed ramblings reached a comedic peak when he admitted, "I ran into her yesterday." Wow, what an incredibly normal thing for a presidential candidate to say about the person chosen to be a heartbeat away from the Oval Office. It's like a pillow talk missed connection. The campaign communications director really drove the point home, telling reporters he's never had a conversation about who could represent Shanahan's perspective, because the only perspective I'm focused on is Bobby's. Savage. This bizarre dynamic has led to rampant speculation that while Shanahan's billions are a huge get for RFK's struggling campaign, the woman herself is basically an afterthought. As one Democrat said, she's out of her depth and out of step with him. Money might help buy ballot access, but it doesn't buy you a compatible running mate. Even some Kennedy fans think unveiling the millionaire patent attorney as his VP was a head-scratcher, wondering, how do you sell financial support as inspiring to the general public? The two really did seem to meet through a series of fortuitous coincidences. Shanahan claims she gave $4 million to a Kennedy super PAC sight unseen. Then, during a dinner with her partner and RFK's wife, the idea of her as VP just came up. She admitted having zero idea she'd be asked, and was so shocked that you can't consider anything you haven't been asked yet. There also appears to be some contradictory messaging around, pretty major policies like abortion rights. Shanahan got whiplash hearing Kennedy told a host he supports abortion up to birth, stammering, "Oh, God, no," before walking it back as a misunderstanding. Rough start. At other times, Shanahan questions if she's even really Kennedy's running mate, saying, "All the way up until the announcement, I was totally open to them subbing somebody else in." She's constantly checking with RFK that she's the right person for the job. To be fair, Bobby has been publicly supportive, empathizing with the buzzsaw Shanahan's been thrown into and complimenting her. Soil? Speech? There's no political scientist that would tell you, "You've got to do a lecture on soils. They'll love it," he cheerfully roasted. And yet, she does it and, we all love her. Oh, young romance. Though this moonlighting dynamic could make for an awkward term if they actually pulled off an upset win. Can you imagine the VP prepping for high-level meetings by cramming Cliff's notes on her boss's policy positions? In any case, whether this is a real partnership or just Shanahan's $1 billion letting Kennedy live out his Camelot delusions for a while longer, you have to admire the sheer what-is-happening energy of it all. That's the kind of uncanny governmental theater we just don't get enough of these days. In a twist more unbelievable than an M. Night Shyamalan plot, it turns out Aaron Rodgers was actually on the shortlist to be RFK Jr.'s running mate this election cycle. But in the battle between checkmating Biden-Trump versus throwing touchdowns, the QB opted to keep slinging pigskins. Say it ain't so, Corin. According to Rodgers himself, he had some really nice conversations with Bobby Kennedy about potentially taking the VP slot. But alas, it was an either-or situation. Retire and be his VP or keep playing. And despite publicly supporting Kennedy's stances on issues like vaccines and medical freedom, A-Rod decided the Jets' playbook took priority over, helping run the free world. Can you even imagine the campaign rallies, though? Rodgers dropping dimes to the open receiver while RFK shouts, "No one who received my truth treatment went blind." Then hitting the pancake circuit to demystify soil nutrients and spread the good word about moisturizing. Obviously, this was a huge missed opportunity for Kennedy to lock down the tantric athletic immunology demographics. But I guess even fringe candidates need to draw the line at a 40-year-old vice president who's more worried about recovering from an Achilles tear than congressional investigators. In Rodgers' defense, the Jets haven't sniffed the playoffs in 13 seasons, longer than Joe Biden was a senator for. So he's got his work cut out delivering New York's first championship since the Eisenhower administration? No pressure or anything. Still, you can't help but wonder what could have been if number 12 took the footsteps Falwell path into conservative politics. An administration using FAR 35-3 sheeple as the White House Wi-Fi password. Forcing Congress to personally manifest their legislative desires? Just a rotating cast of Packers alumni with titles like Guru of Conscious Chugging. Alas, it seems the pigskin prevailed over the body politic for now. But who knows? If this whole Jets thing doesn't work out, maybe we'll see Rodgers on a future ballot as the crystal candidate, promising Mai Tais in every vitamin D fountain. Because you can bet your Parasmart mouthguard, the campaign slogans would be out of this world. Portions of today's podcast were written with the help of AI, which points out that if Rodgers had gone with RFK, at least he would have finished in third place, unlike the Jets.